which Joan and Doug are going to perform for us long distance. But we can sing along, right?
Hello from Minnesota. Sing along with us if you like. This is Peace Like a River. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul, in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul.
Joan and Doug. And many of you, yeah, very good. Many of you do not know it, but Doug is a bluegrass musician and edits a bluegrass music magazine. And I have had the privilege of viewing, looking through a couple of copies of those. So Doug is not only talented musically, but he's also literate. So thank you, Doug, for performing today with Joan. Are there, okay, well, no, we're all done with that. Let's go right now to kindle the chalice. David, will you come forward and read the words and kindle our chalice for us? I think it's on the end. There you go. Ah.
We light our chalice for those who lived their lives in the closets of shame, for those who virtually visited the bars where nobody knew your name, for the Stonewall riot, for the Pride parade, for our gay kids living true to themselves, for gay people serving in the military, for marriage equality, for families formed by intention. We light our chalice, the flame for these, and for our LGBTQ individuals surviving, living life out in the open with pride.
Amen. Thank you, David. Yes, David and Holly are a little newer to our congregation. David is an electronics specialist, works over at Memorial, and Holly is an art therapist. So that means you have something to talk about when you can go up to him and talk to him after service or chat with him after service. Let's now go to our affirmation, which is going to be on our screen or on the wall there for you. And we'll read in unison. Well, there we go. Love is the spirit of this church and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. There, thank you. Offering words. No, I'm sorry, joys and concerns. Are there any joys or concerns that the young ones have, which will be introduced by Bridget Lorenz? Yes, you can.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to kick you out of your spot. All right, gosh, this is crinkly. All right. On June 17th, 2015, white supremacist Dylan Roof walked into the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. It's one of the oldest Black churches in the US and has long been a center for civil rights events in South Carolina. He shot 12 people that day, 9 of whom were killed, 9 of whom died, including Clementa Pinckney, who was the pastor there and also a South Carolina state senator. In this video, this is a song written by Zoe Mulford. She wanted to commemorate not only our loss that day, but also the eulogy that President Obama then delivered for the funeral of Mrs. Pinckney. So she wrote this song called "The President Sang Amazing Grace." At their funeral, he delivered the eulogy and then sang Amazing Grace to the crowd. In the video, you'll see that that's Jeff Scherers, who's a filmmaker and painter, did pastel portraits of the Emmanuel Nine. So they'll appear in the video. And then the song is actually performed by Joan Baez. She heard Zoe's song and decided to record her own version of it. And it's on her latest album, Whistle Down the Wind.
Thank you, Bridget. That was a good choice for our children's message today. Let's now sing the children out. Do we have music? We have music. In peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Lovely. And now we have some readings. Tina Eberly will chat with us a little bit about some of her thoughts on preventing gun violence. And then Ellen Higdon will share with us some of her thoughts about how, at least at my last talking with her, how difficult it is to talk about people, about some of these hot button issues. So Tina, if you'd come forward.
Good morning. A shot rang out. It was the loudest noise I had ever heard. The ringing in my ears went through my skull and shook my eyes. The blast had a bright light that came and went so fast that all I could see were spots. Then for a split moment, it was completely silent, which was quickly stolen by the sound of feet running, tires squealing, and cries. I was 8. I don't know the people, but I also had already learned by that point in my life to keep my head down. So maybe I did know them, but I never truly saw them. I can remember coming home from school a few days later and hearing my mom speaking to my uncle in our kitchen. I knew it had to be related to the shooting because they were speaking quietly and he would rarely come to our home in uniform. He always said it was safer for us if he stayed back, but reminded us that he was always watching, even when we couldn't see him. I remember hearing him tell my mom that these are the reasons it was so dangerous for he and his coworkers to continue to come into my neighborhood. My mom still lives in this neighborhood, and there's still police presence, but they stay to the side. I didn't quite understand the complexity of that conversation, nor did I see the foreshadowing it held in my life. Fast forward about 30 plus years later, and now multiple times a week, every single week, I sit with students who are 5 to 11 years old, and I listen as they share their stories of why they haven't slept in days, because those same loud shots are making their ears ring and their eyes shake. They tell me about how they have plans where they know to go in their homes to stay the safest, what they have to do to help keep their younger siblings and cousins calm and quiet. And they do so in the most nonchalant, matter-of-fact way. The same way I would have when I was 8 if I told someone that story. And while my teachers worry about the impact of lockdown drills in our schools, what many of them really don't realize is that our kids have been practicing them for years at home. After I listen, I share part of my story. I offer whatever comfort I can, and then I go home. And I go home to 3 little girls who have recently just begun to understand the very real dangers that our own family faces. And although we do our best to keep the dark talks from their ears, we sometimes fail. They sometimes hear how truly dangerous it is just for their dad to go to work. And how quickly an impromptu community pickup game can become deadly, even with 3 officers playing and children everywhere. However, they don't know about the dozen or more times in the past 6 months where informants have given information on well thought out ambushes that have been planned on officers in our own community. How someone planned to call in a domestic, and then the group would surround them, block the only entrance into the housing community, and take fire. They don't know about the multiple times their dad has had someone pull a gun on him just at a traffic stop. They don't know that there are areas in our own community where my husband and his coworkers have been told not to go individually because of the violence and threats that continue to face the officers daily. They don't know about how my husband entered a group of 200 plus people who surrounded one of his coworkers, had a gun pointed at her head while she was 7 months pregnant. And how the mental effects from that one event made him flinch the next time before entering a group of people when he was trying to save a 3-year-old. They don't know how that one flinch made him question his entire career and purpose as an officer for months and years to come. Because he felt if he had a flinch, it could mean he could not effectively keep people safe. They don't know about how the officers around the country walk a very fine line of keeping the community safe and worrying about coming home every night. They don't know about how local departments in our own area have stopped taking calls so that their numbers don't reflect the real story of violence that they're plagued with, which means those calls then get pushed off to the other departments who are already understaffed and burdened. And although my 3 children live in a very safe home, in a very safe neighborhood with people watching over them, and have minimal knowledge of gun violence, both parents deal with the impacts of it daily, and we are tired.
That certainly was very powerful, Tina. I was invited to speak about how to talk to people whose actions and professed views are contrary to common sense and the common good. We all know people who fit this description, friends, even very close friends or relatives, who begin to state things that aren't true, don't even sound true. Yet they cling to these beliefs at all costs and use whatabouts as their defense should you challenge them. That's when they talk about something else they don't like instead of addressing the topic. So my first reaction was to say, no, I can't do that, Jim. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I have very few. And full disclosure, I'm only limited success at that. However, this is a topic which deeply interests me, and I believe it's vital, maybe even to the survival of our species. How do we talk to each other about deeply, passionately held beliefs, and equally important, listen to each other respectfully? Whenever I asked others this question, I got the same reply. That's a tough one. But I've listened to many podcasts about this problem, and some good ideas have emerged. Number one, dial down your emotions. This is hard, bordering on impossible. But I will say, dial it down. You don't have to turn it off, but just take a deep breath. It will help you keep your ears open and your mouth closed more. Never make the other person feel stupid. They really aren't stupid anyway, and that will surely close off any communication. Think of yourself as planting a seed. Your goal can't be to enlighten someone. No one's going to come up to you and say, oh, I had no idea. You straightened me out. Thanks so much. Not going to happen. Trust me. But many tiny seeds germinate into very big plants. I have an example. My neighbor next door had these 2 flowering crab trees in their backyard. They're about 6 feet, 7 feet tall. They weren't towering, but most of you know we live on the lake, and they were in the way. And so I did not know how to approach him because I did not think that he would care that they annoyed me. So one day he was out on the deck and I said, Terry, you know, I think it's amazing that those trees don't bother your view of the lake at all. And he looked at me and he looked at the trees and he goes, no, they don't. And the next year the trees were gone. And I am going to take credit because I think that I changed the way he saw the trees, and he no longer looked past them. He looked at them and he saw what I saw, and he didn't like it. So it can work, but you're going to have to go slowly. Here are some other things that you can try. Is there circle talk? Yeah. I hope people stay and discuss your ideas as well as these. The first one is Jim's, the Socratic method. Saying, oh, that so interests me, tell me more. And then repeat, that's so interesting, tell me more. If a person doesn't have facts or science or any sense of what's behind these statements, they're just saying them, they soon run out of things to say. However, you need to guard against the whatabouts because they could jump to something else. You can also say that doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain it more? And repeat. And that's a kind of a similar way of talking to someone. That's an interesting way of looking at things. Are you interested in my viewpoint? And that's hard to say no, I think. And again, dial down your emotions here. 4 and 5 kind of go with the last one. And this is, what's your source on that? You are a well-educated, thoughtful friend, person, cousin, whatever. What does the science say about that? And then you go to the last one, which is my favorite, and I have been successful. Hey, I've got my cell phone right here. Let's check that out. So those are some things you can try. I will say that after I wrote the draft to this, I emailed my brother, who I haven't had any communication with at all in over 1.5 years since the George Floyd thing happened, and that was not good. So I emailed him on Monday, and I just said, I think of you often. I miss you. I hope you're well and happy. And I did get a reply. So